Aggie.
Ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya babim bam, ya baba ya baba ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya baba ya baba baba. Oh ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya babim bam, ya baba ya baba ya babim bam. Ya baba bim bam, ya baba ya baba baba. Ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya babim bam, ya baba ya baba ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya baba ya baba baba. Oh ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam. Ya babim bam, ya baba ya baba ya babim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya baba ya baba baba.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to our Friday night services here at Temple Sinai. I am Rabbi Benjamin Zober, and with me, of course,
Rabbi Sarah Zober, and welcome.
We welcome you who have joined us in person and all of you out there wherever you are. Shabbat Shalom. So glad that you have decided to join us tonight to pray with us and welcome Shabbat. This evening, as is our tradition, we are praying out of Mishkan Tefillah. If you are out there and would like the prayers and blessings that we will be saying, they are ready for download. SinaiReno.org/live. We'll have all of the readings and prayers that you need. But if you have that, or even if you just want to go from memory and from your heart, all options are welcome and wonderful. We begin, though, with a reading that is not in the book. Let there be no good hope that is not a command. Let there be no prayer that does not ask to become a deed. Let there be no promise unless it is kept. Prayer reveals truths about ourselves and the world that neither scalpel nor microscope can uncover. Prayer is the search for silence amidst the noise of life. Prayer is not an escape from duty. It challenges us to do wisely and act generously. Our candle lighting this evening can be found on page 2, and I would like to invite up Addie and Hannah Garfinkel.
Okay, well.
Addie Garfinkel.
And Cindy, come on, Cindy.
Come on up, Cindy. Cindy, this is Addie. Addie, this is Cindy.
It's so nice. Wow, there we go.
You got voluntold.
I tell you what, I'll light one if you want to light the other.
That sounds perfect.
Okay.
Oops,
It's child safe. You have to push that up and then pull the trigger.
it's very complicated for me.
Indeed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As we begin singing to welcome the Shabbat, we start on page 10 with Maya Hayom.
Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom יפה היום, שבת שלום, שבת, שבת שלום, שבת, שבת שלום, שבת, שבת שלום, שבת שלום. מה יפה היום, שבת שלום, מה יפה היום, שבת שלום, שבת, שבת שלום, שבת, שבת שלום, שבת, שבת שלום, שבת שלום.
We continue on page 14.
At
We
the
are
very bottom.
Or Zarua.
Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzadik, Uyisrael Simcha.
I like that one.
I
You
know
get to
you do.
clap.
He likes anything I let him clap at.
It's true.
Yeah.
We continue our welcoming of Shabbat with Lechado D, which can be found on page 20. As usual, we will be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach the 9th and final verse, if you are able, we invite you to rise and turn to the entrance of whatever space you are in to welcome the Sabbath bride into your midst.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שמו תפארת כלי תהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת מכוונך, כי מקור הברכה, תירוש מקדם לסוף. דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת כלה, גם בשמחה וצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated. We continue together now with Chatzi Kaddish, which can be found on page 26. Yitkara v'yitkara shemei Rabba,
Amen.
v'alma divrach yirutei v'yamrich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'b'chayedecho beit Yisrael, bagala, bagala, u'bizman kariv, v'meru,
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Le'olam lo me'omaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitareh, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekudesha, Berichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damihiran be'alma, v'meru. Amen. Baruch Hu can be found on page 28.
Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Please rise. Yada-da-da-da-da. 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da.
We turn to page 31 and we read together in the middle of the page. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim. Ahavat Olam can be found on the very next page.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata, Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shofenu, Ukmenu nasiach bechukacha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, Ki hem chayenu, Ve'orach yameinu, U'bahem nege yomam v'layla, Nege yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir, Mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. The Shema can be found on the next page. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Abad.
You may be seated. We continue together with the V'ahavta, page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'lechtecha b'derech, u'shochbecha u'vkumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, Uvisharecha Laman tizkaru V'asitem et kol mitzvotai V'tem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem. Emetz. We turn to page 39 and we read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace. Give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi chamocha can be found on the very next page.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh, malchutacha ra'u banecha, bokei hayom lifnei Moshe, zelianu ve'amaru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
We turn to page 43. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Vishamru can be found on the next page.
Vishameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם, ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים את הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת, שבת וינפש. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושומרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם, ברית עולם.
We turn to page 46 for the Amidah, and if you are able, please rise. Adonai sifatai tifnach uvi yagid tilatecha yadadai dai dai 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 yadadai dai dai.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol, Bezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihan, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hata, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sohomer Noflim Merofeh Kolim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Mishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Givurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzliach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahlelu chasalah, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakadosh.
Continue silently to page 62. Please be seated when you are finished or when you feel ready. Oseh Shalom can be found on page 62.
Oseh Shalom V'Roma. Oseh Shalom V'Roma. Uyaseh Shalom. Uyaseh Shalom. Uyaseh Shalom. Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oseh Shalom V'Roma. Oseh Shalom V'Roma. Uyaseh Shalom. Uyaseh Shalom. Uyaseh Shalom. Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one bring peace down. May the one bring peace down. May the one bring peace down to us.
At this time, we turn to our Torah service, Seder Kriyat HaTorah. We begin at the top of page 245. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God.
We now invite up Nikki, Morgan, Matt, and Ray to carry and to open up our ark doors. Morgan, I think you got voluntold. Oh, cool. No. Ray's going to carry. You're going to open the ark. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
We turn to page 246, and if you're able, please rise.
Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Udavar Adonai mirushalayim. You can come over and close. Thank you, friends. Go ahead. Page 248. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai. Gadol Adonenu, Gadol איתי, ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. לך אדוני הגדול והגיבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד, כי כה בשמיים ובארץ, כי כה בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, ימית נעשה לכל ראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקדשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקדשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקדשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקדשו. You may be seated.
For our Aliyah this evening, we are welcoming up Helen and Gerald. Ya'amdu Chaya ben Yosef, Georgia ben Daniel, Aliyah HaTorah. Yes, we do. Here, let me find. All right, here, start right there. So, one hand on that. Take it on. Ready?
Baruch Adonai Hamivarah.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu
Mikol ha'olim
v'natananu
b'natananu
et Torato.
Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Torah.
Amen. All right, yeah, if you could just hold that right there. Amen. V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el kol edat b'nei Yisrael, v'amarta alehem kidoshim tiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem, ish imo v'aviv tira'u, v'et shabtotai tishmoru, ani Adonai Elohechem. Et tifnu el ha'elelim ve'elohei mesecha lo tasu lachem, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natananu Torat emet v'hayei olam atah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Shake off. No, don't. Shake. Don't go anywhere. We have a little blessing for you.
This is why your friends send you up.
Misha berach avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless the both of you as you have come up to Torah in honor of God and Torah. May you merit from the Holy One of blessing protection, rescue from any trouble or distress, and from any illness, minor or serious. May God send blessing and success in your every endeavor, together with all Israel. And let us say,
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With our Sefer Torah in our midst, we offer a bit of blessing for those in our community who need a bit of healing, whether it is of mind or body or spirit. At this time, we are thinking of Wendy Alderman, Laura Ann Borsoff, Neil Calder, Laura Cohen, Jeff Gingold, Stephen Gould, Al Grossman, Marlene Harris, Harvey Higdon, Laura Jawad, Kevin Knox, Dave Levine, Harav Miriam Yael Chaya Batsara, Judy Ramos, Ray Riker, Marilyn Roberts, Shirley Rutkovitz, Sarah Batchava, Marianne Schenker, Helene Spinner, Jessica Wadatz, Usher Zelech, Tim Ober, everyone affected by the coronavirus, and the Jews and other communities of Ukraine. If there are other names that you wish to share, I urge you to do so if you are online in the comments. And if you are present with us, please, if you are comfortable, do so as my eyes meet yours.
Lynn Plank.
For all of those names and the one we hold in our heart, our song of healing can be found on page 253. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habrecha limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habrecha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. It is now, let's see. I can't tell if this says Rab or Rob. So Rob, if you would please come up for the honor of addressing our Torah this evening. We all rise for Hagbah in Galila.
Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe.
We turn to page 257 as we read responsively.
When Torah entered the world, freedom entered it. The whole Torah exists only to establish peace.
Its highest teaching is love and kindness. What is hateful to you, do not do to any person.
That is the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. Go and learn it. Those who study Torah are the true guardians of civilization.
Honoring one another, doing acts of kindness, and making peace. These are our highest duties. But the study of Torah is equal to them all because it leads to them all.
Let us learn in order to teach. Let us learn in order to do.
Page 256 in the middle. Etz chaim hi lama chazikim ba betom cha meushar derachecha tavenom bechol netivotecha Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha benashuva, Chalish, Chalish Yameinu, Chalish Yameinu, You may be seated. I would like to issue a trigger warning for my sermon this week because I will be talking about infant loss and abortion. So if you need to, for the next 10 minutes, go find something else to do. Please, please, please take care of yourself. I want to tell you a story that I heard this week from a woman in her 70s. Her name is Diana. When she was 8 years old, she came home from school one day to find her mother in the kitchen, sitting on the floor. Weak, her mother asked Diana to call the neighbor for help because she was miscarrying and she was losing a lot of blood. When her mother reached the hospital and started the blood transfusion, the doctors found to their horror that the embryo was still there. And by law, they were not allowed to stop her bleeding because that procedure would technically be an abortion. Even though every doctor on the panel agreed that the embryo was no longer viable, the procedure to remove it had been outlawed. Diana's father responded by dragging her and her sister into a meeting room at the hospital to prove to a panel of doctors that there were other living children to consider. She remembers that her father begged and sobbed for the doctors to do something to save his wife. It was the first time she heard her father cry. Diana, at age 8, understood very little of the conversation, except that whatever was killing her mother was winning that argument. The panel of doctors decided that they had to wait. And for days, her mother hemorrhaged while doctors transfused blood to keep her alive. It took 72 hours from when Diana's mother got to the hospital for the panel to decide to finally perform the abortion, to end her torture, and to save her life. Diana reports, "Do you know what actually saved my mom's life? Our family doctor was Jewish. He threatened to leave the hospital practice if they were going to force their Christian values on a Jewish doctor." The Jewish doctor in Diana's story knew his Mishnah. This part from Ohalot. Ha'isha shehi maksha leiled. If a woman is having trouble while giving birth, mechotchin et havalad hame'eha, umotzi'in oto evarim. Then they are to cut up the fetus in her womb and bring it forth limb by limb. Mipnei shechayeha kodmin l'chayav, because her life comes before the other life. This is the Jewish resolution on abortion and the Jewish understanding of life. That until the fetus is mostly out of the birth canal, chayeha kodmin l'chayav. Her life comes before that other life in potential. This was codified for us in the 2nd century and has only been strengthened by Jewish law since then. And yet, we sit here in the year 5782, contemplating a near future in this country where abortion is made illegal. Now, I very deliberately say that abortion will be made illegal and not abolished, because abortions will still happen. They will just be criminalized and unsafe. Were you aware that the United States already has the highest maternal mortality rate in the developed world? Not only that, but it has gotten worse. Millennials like myself are 50% more likely to die in childbirth than our parents were, due mostly to the fact that healthcare is so much more expensive and so much more inaccessible to my generation and the ones after mine, while people from minority races suffer even worse outcomes than 50% higher. Mine is the first generation in the history of this country to be worse off than our mothers in this regard. And my generation still enjoys every protection granted by Roe. The reality is that with all of our medical advances, being pregnant and giving birth is still dangerous. It's hard, and it is unhealthy for many people. Far from protecting potential lives, when we remove safe and legal abortion from our toolbox of medical solutions, real lives are harmed. And as Jews, that must be our concern. Because people will continue to get abortions and need abortions even if Roe is struck down. We know this. We have definitive data on it. Abortion bans will do nothing more than lead to more women's deaths, whether because they get unsafe abortions, because they suffer deadly violence at the hands of abusers, or because they, like Diana's mother, have conditions where the only remedy is abortion. A ban on abortion can and will result in the state-sanctioned neglectful murder of pregnant people. A result that no good person and certainly no Jew should ever sign on to. Chayeha kodmin l'chayav. Her life comes first. Which then brings me to our portion this week, where we read, Lo telech rachil ba'amecha, lo ta'amod al dam re'echa, ani Adonai. You shall not deal dishonestly with your people. You shall not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor, because I am Adonai. In bullying education, in Holocaust education, we talk about never being bystanders, never standing idly by the blood of our neighbor. Because bystanders don't want to get involved. Bystanders recognize it's not their fight. It's not their skin in the game. Bystanders are the ones who keep quiet in the face of abuse, who fade into the background when someone cries out for help or cries out for justice. We Jews are instead called to be the people who cry never again to anyone. Here in Nevada, our state codified abortion rights in 1973 into our state constitution and reaffirmed them in 1990. In 2019, I was the clergyman on the team in Carson City when we further removed outdated criminal penalties, when we removed blatantly inaccurate language on consent forms, and when we removed marital status and age requirements. Here, even if Roe fails, Nevadans will be able to access the kind of medical care we need the way we should be able to access all of our medical care, with a conversation between us and a doctor. But our text here in Leviticus doesn't say lo ta'amod al damech, don't stand idly by your own blood, but al dam re'echa, by the blood of your neighbor. I regret to inform you that every single one of the states to the east of us, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and Arizona, have trigger bans for abortion in place. They are only a few of the 23 states and territories where if Roe falls, abortion will automatically be made illegal. We Jews have a duty to the people in those states to fight for better protections at the federal level for the lives of everyone who may become pregnant in the future. Now, let me be very clear. It is permissible to be Jewish and deeply ambivalent about abortion. It is permissible to be Jewish and to know that it is not a choice for you personally. Many of us feel that way about many life-saving medical procedures. Many of us have said that chemotherapy or brain surgery would not be for us. We're glad it exists, but it's not for us. But our tradition clearly tells us what needs to be allowed and commands us loudly, lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. You shall not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. We cannot be silent bystanders when people are endangering lives by banning a safe medical procedure because of their own personal feelings. We certainly cannot be bystanders when people are banning a life-saving medical procedure for religious reasons. And we certainly cannot abandon half of the country to the whims of Christian supremacy codified into law. So here is my ask, regardless of your personal feelings on the topic of abortion. Act out your Jewish values by protecting the humanity of people who can become pregnant, even if you are ambivalent about abortion itself, because people's lives right now are on the line. Get loud, because 70 to 80% of Americans, depending on the poll, agree that abortion should be safe and legal. But those seeking to outlaw it have spent more time and are working harder than we are right now. Talk to your legislators and talk to your friends and push them to make the right decision to uphold Roe. Donate to organizations that are working to give comprehensive and compassionate health care for every stage in a person's life, including the incredibly difficult ones. And finally, push to decriminalize abortion. Because in case you didn't know, in 48 states, people convicted of a felony, which many of these trigger bans make abortion, people convicted of a felony cannot vote. And this is a way that minorities are being further disenfranchised. Fighting for abortion, regardless of your personal feelings, is a Jewish value and a Jewish tradition to keep it legal and to keep it accessible as all healthcare should be. The blood of our neighbors is in real, literal jeopardy right now. And we have been tapped to stand up. This will be a long and hard fight. But know that when it gets hard, we are the ones who are protecting life. Not just life in potentio, but the living, breathing lives of our parents, our children, our lovers, and our friends. So, my friends, it is time to stop talking about it and act. So I'm going to leave you with words from Pirkei Avot. V'lo hamidrash hu ha'ikar, ela hama'aseh. Rabbi Shimon, son of the great Rabban Gamliel, reminds us, study and words are not the most important thing. Actions are. Shabbat shalom.
At the bottom of page 282, you find the Aleinu. The Aleinu is our prayer that calls out to us and reminds us of our duty to create a better world. I would like to invite Vida up to open our door. Daryl, if you want to come as well. I always love to have you by my side. I know that's true. If you're able, please rise. Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כברי הארצות, ולא שמנו משפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, ולא הורדנו ככל עוונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. When we all, created in your image, become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 287. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol haaretz. Hayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. U'shemo You may be seated. We think now of our loved ones, whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. At this time, we remember Carolyn Javinsky, Edward Gingold, Jim Ballantyne, Eli Kane, David Stucker, Terry Gregory, Grayson Corbett, Joan F. Nutkin, Andrew Venuti, Gerald Kaufman, Goldie Brewstein, Lucille Alexander, Stanley Browdy, Edna Bailey, Jenna Deborah Danif Cassell, Will Spiegelman, Leonard Fusari, James Holly, Ken Hecht, Roberta Smallrich. And this Shabbat, we commemorate yahrzeits of Eugene R. Brown, Evelyn Gingold, Harry Norman, Abraham Steinberg, Judge Bert G. Goldwater, Leonard Greiner, Nathan Finkelstein, Jerry Sternad, Beatrice Brown, Al Feldman, Anita Nish Krut, David Lee McKean, John Pavolny. If there are other names that you wish to add, I invite you to do so in the comments if you are online or if present when my eyes meet yours. For all of the names and the names we hold in our hearts, Kaddish Yatom can be found on page 294. If it is your custom, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and all who mourn, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. I would like to invite Jen up for our announcements this evening. Splendid. Couldn't find them.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And thank you, Rabbi Sarah, for a very beautiful sermon. So thanks to Marilyn Roberts for sponsoring this week's Onik, and also happy birthday, Yom Holedet Sameach. And we also like to thank Michael Gordon, board president, for running the live stream tech. Please contact Michael Gordon if you're interested in joining the Shabbat tech team, or download this week's custom virtual Siddur at sinairino.org/Siddur. Join us after services for challah and juice in the social hall, hosted in person. The Onyx are back, yay! And sign up in the temple kitchen or online if you want to sponsor an Onyx. Yes, Zoom. Join us for Zoom for a virtual Onyx time with live video after services, and visit also sinairino.org live for details to enter the virtual Onyx. Tomorrow, Saturday, May 7th, at 10 o'clock, there is Torah study via Zoom starting at Genesis. 39.7. Visit again SinaiReno.org Torah study for Zoom meeting ID and information. And I think that's it. Or do I need to read everything?
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good? Okay, we're good. Shabbat Shalom.
So our final song this evening is going to be Olam Chesed Yibaneh. You only need those 3 words, Olam,
Olam.
Chesed. See, he gets it.
Chesed.
How long have we been together? Too long if you're already doing that. Yibaneh.
Yibaneh.
Good. Okay. And that's all that you need. And we will, I'll feed you the rest. What's the cable on this one? Let's do 2. It's always safe. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai, Dai, Yadadai, Dai. 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 I will build this world from love. Yadadai, Dai, Dai, Yadadai, Dai. And if you will build this world from love. Yadadai, Dai, Dai, Yadadai, Dai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai, then God will build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, 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 yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll see you in the social hall.
Shabbat Shalom.